What is up, guys? Welcome to a brand new video. Now, League is a massive game, and there are all of these kind of like tiny little things that can make a really big difference, but nobody really tells you about them. So I've got 7 things today that unless you've seen it or you have a friend that's mentioned it before, you probably are not going to know about them, and they're all pretty useful. If you end up enjoying this or you didn't know one of these, then leave it a like, dislike it if you didn't though, but let me know some of your tips down in the comments. Now, the first one is something that's been in the game for a little while, but not as many people know about it, or at least like every time I've told someone, they've been like, wait, really? That's a thing? So inhibitors take 5 minutes to respawn, right, once they're destroyed, and the timer thing, so like when the announcer actually says an inhib is about to respawn, it spawns in 15 seconds. Another thing people don't realize is the minions actually that spawn after the inhib has been destroyed in that lane have more health and more AD, I believe, but that's not really the tip part. So you can actually tell how long the inhibitor has left until it respawns by just looking at it. Around the inhib, there is this small circle of light. That's probably the best way to describe it. This circle fills up, displaying the time left it has till spawn. So if it's like half full, then it spawns in 2.5 minutes. It's 50% done. If it's 75% full, then it's only just got over a minute left. Like, you can't exactly time it down to the second using this, but you get a good rough idea of when it's going to be back up. The other option is obviously to just time like 5 minutes from when you take it, but let's be honest, like nobody does that. The only time I've ever seen someone do that was when I used to play competitively. So yeah, tip number 1, a nice little way to know when an inhib is going to respawn just by looking at it and seeing how full the bar is. So tip number 2 is actually outside of game for Rune pages. Now, Rune pages are very expensive, right? And if you're new to the game, then you probably are stuck with just the 2. That's not too bad. Like, you can get away with just 2, but if you ever want to play a champion that needs a specific page, and you're going to be in a bit of trouble if you get your off roll. So the example we're using is if I wanted to play Jhin, I want to have a different page to normal AD carries with armor pen and some AD. The problem is, if I queue up as AD as my main role and mid as my second one, if I get mid, then I have no AP page. So we're going to queue up with these 2 roles, right? Head on over straight away to our Rune pages. We have our standard AD one and an AP one as well at the moment. We're going to change the AP page to a Jhin page with armor pen and AD, but don't save it, okay? Just put the new runes in and stay on that page while we wait for a game. Don't leave the page and don't hit save. So when the queue pops and you get into game, you can see which role you've actually got on the left hand side, and a box is asking you if you want to save your page or not. Now, if we got mid, then you need to your AP page, right? So you click no, because you don't want to save the Jhin page and it reverts back to the changes the original AP one. If we get AD carry though, we don't need an AP page anymore, right? So we can press yes and the page saves to the arm pen one that we made. For some reason, my recording software does not want to show the runes when I hover over it, but here is a screenshot, and also if I log back in now, I have the arm pen page saved. This is just a cool way of basically having 3 pages without paying for a third one. A lot of people don't know you can do this, so hopefully it helps on new accounts or for new players. Now let's move on to some general stuff. So this is mainly for junglers, mid laners, and supports, but it's really useful to know. The sweeper or the oracle lens lets you kill wards, right? But actually it also disables them. This means that if you use it on a ward in a brush and you don't attack it, you're actually hidden as if there wasn't a ward in there in the first place, because it doesn't reveal anything anymore. Most people will not actually realize the vision has suddenly gone, or they'll just kind of think the ward has expired, right? But actually no, you've just run like straight through it without being seen. The most common would actually be this brush, really disable it from over the wall and then run through it and get behind them without even having any idea that you're actually there. Supports can also use this for a flank, like you go up, you sweep it, instead of attacking the ward though, you just run through it and start a fight from behind. You can even do this with your jungler and they'd have no idea. Mid laners can run down the river, sweep, disable, and run through them. You'll probably be seen for like a split second, but most are not going to be paying enough attention to even realize, in my opinion, so it won't really matter. It's not the most game-changing thing ever, but it's a really good way to bypass wards and be more successful with your gank. So just like bear in mind, basically, they can't see you until you hit the ward when you use a sweeper. The 4th thing is a way to time summoner spells accurately, or even kind of check what general masteries they have in a way. If you press tab, you see the scoreboard, right? Items, etc., the normal stuff. But if you hover over their summoner spell, it will actually tell you what it is and the bit we want, the cooldown. Normally, a flash is 300 seconds, but some masteries actually lower it and it might be like 270 or something like that. It's kind of important to know, especially if you use flash at the same time, then yours is still on cooldown for 30 seconds, but suddenly they flash on you again. The difference here is that you don't know if they've got that mastery or not when you go into game, but if you press tab and you hover over, it will actually say the exact cooldown. So it would say 270 seconds instead of 300. Now, I always use timestamps for this stuff, honestly, so I guess this is kind of 2 tips in one. If you turn on timestamps in the settings, everything you type will have the game time next to it. Basically, when they flash or they heal or whatever, you can type anything in chat, just like a dot if you wanted to. Then next time you base, you look back, see what the time was, press tab, check the cooldown, and write down when it's back up while you're just running back to lane. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, especially in like plat, then you should really start to do this and play around what cooldowns they have. Abusing the fact they have no flash or no heal or exhaust is something that really makes a difference when you get higher up the ladder. So the next tip is about lane wards and general warding, I guess. These things seem obvious, but a lot of people don't really use them, and it's not something super common or like really talked about very much. So in mid lane, it's kind of common to pink or ward one side in the brush to protect yourself and deny vision to the enemy mid laner. A mistake that a lot of people make though is to place the ward anywhere in the middle or like quite far in the bush, thinking it gives more vision because it's closer to the enemy jungler, so you can kind of see them sooner. The problem with this is you cannot defend this at all, so ideally you're going to place it here next to your wall, closest to your lane. This then means if the jungler or the enemy mid laner tries to take it, they'll be in range of you over the wall to hit them, push them away, make them pay for it, maybe even kill them. It sounds pretty obvious, but it does make a massive difference. Like, you can save your pinks this way, or at least make it a lot harder for the enemy to take it. If you think about it, like if you're playing an Annie, for example, or a Syndra, like you're standing over the other side of the wall, they can't see you, they're just attacking this pink ward and suddenly they get blown up in the face. Like, it's perfect for that kind of like sneaky kill. It does apply to other lanes as well, but mostly it's going to be mid lane, I think, over this wall. You can do it top lane, you could probably do it as a support as well and kind of like sneak kills over walls, but really it's for the mid lane. Now this next one applies to everyone though, and it's an out of game thing actually, but don't play with cold hands. We're getting closer to winter now, and if you're in the UK, that means a lot of rain, but your hands will get cold, especially before the first game of the day usually. The problem is muscle memory doesn't really work as well. They'll feel stiff. It doesn't feel like normal or right, I guess, doing things that you normally would do all the time. In game, this is actually going to mess up your CS, your attack moving, your skill shots, flashes. Basically everything you normally do will just be a bit slower, or once in a while it's going to feel weird and you'll probably mess it up. My point is, just warm them up before a game. Don't play when you're cold. There are loads of different ways you can do this as well. The mean one, I guess, is to stick them down your pants. Like, I'm sure most of you do this anyway, but in all seriousness, it's normally the hottest place. Or you can be normal, you know, and rub them together, stick them on a radiator for a little bit. Anything that warms them up before you get into game is perfect. Like, it sounds weird, but trust me, you will play a lot worse if you have cold hands. The final thing is for the Scuttle Crab or Rift Scuttler. Like, a lot of people will know this, but a lot might not as well. So it has 60 armor and magic resist normally, so it's not the easiest thing to kill or not the fastest, I guess, but any form of crowd control though reduces that by 50 each, so it's only going to have 10 now instead of 60. It's going to be much faster to kill, especially as well while it's actually in the crowd control, so while it's stunned or something, it takes 25% extra damage as well. The point is more, if you have a stun or a snare or whatever, use it at the start and you'll make it much easier. Like, you can also smite Krugs for that stun if you don't have one naturally in your kit. Like Lee Sin, for example, I do that on a lot. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know which of these you did or didn't know, but thank you for watching, and as always, I'm going to leave you with the robots.